Hey guys, welcome back to the PPC Questions and Answers show, the spinoff of the Paid Search Podcast. My name is Jason Rothman. As always, I'm joined by Chris Schaefer. And on this podcast, PPC Question and Answers, we read your questions and we answer them. And thank you guys for sending us your questions at paidsearchpodcast.com. So today's question, Chris, it comes from Brian. And one thing I want to start doing, Chris, is getting people to tell us where they're from, because I always find that interesting. So Brian did not tell us where he's from, but I'm going to make it up. He's from Queensland, Australia.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, that's nice, Brian.
So when you write in your questions, make sure to let us know where you're from.
No, Jason, I'm going to take it back. I think we should make up everybody's location in the question. We just immediately give them a background. I think that would be way more fun.
All right, Brian writes in, a former felon, not for anything bad, just for killing 5 people.
Just
kidding, Brian. Okay, so Brian writes in, great show, guys. I have a few years of experience in PPC, in agency, in-house situations, but always learn a ton of things each week from you. I suggest an episode on the importance of statistical significance and how you guys see it playing a role in your account management. When do you use it? When do you not use it? How much of what you do is gut versus only trusting what the data tells you? When do you know when to pause and add a keyword in ad group, etc.? Thanks. Well, Brian, thanks for writing in. Chris and I discussed this question before we started reporting, and for the most part, we are talking about gut feels here, Chris. But I don't want to give the wrong impression. Those gut feels are based on years and years of experience. So there's a few statistical significant things I think you and I both look at. First point, Chris, is you have tools out there like Optimizer, and in their ad testing tool, they will make statistical significant decisions for you and help you. So you can use a software tool if you're really big on that. In terms of ad impressions, knowing when to pause an ad based on click-through rate, Chris, we always like giving them at least 100 impressions. How to judge problem keywords, Brian. When do you know when you should lower a keyword bid or pause it based on cost per conversion? Chris, I never pause a keyword or lower the bid until I have at least enough spend to compare to the overall account's cost per conversion. So if my overall account is cost per conversion of $100 and my keyword has $50 to spend, I'm not judging that keyword yet as a bad keyword if it doesn't have any conversions. And if it has $110, Chris, and no conversions, I'm not judging that as bad. But now we're starting to get more into the gut feel of things. If the keyword has $200-$300 of cost per conversion, or of cost, and no conversions, when overall we get $100 cost per conversion, that's getting out of hand, and I've got to make a decision there. But definitely, I'm not killing or pausing a keyword or lowering it if we don't even have enough spend to meet the average cost per conversion. But beyond that, Chris, I'm talking about gut feels here. And I know that's a hard thing to hear and it's hard to train. Maybe there's a better way out there for people. But what I do, a lot of what I do, Chris, is gut feels. And I'll give you a great example and then I'll throw it to you. Moving company blankets is a search term. If I'm advertising for a moving company, I'm not going to wait until I get $100 to spend, if that's my conversion, on search terms that say moving company blankets before I add blanket as a negative keyword. I know from a gut feel, I know from putting myself in the search user's shoes, if I'm doing a search for moving company blankets, I'm probably not looking for a moving company to hire, Brian. And or if I'm limited by budget, I'd much rather spend that budget on only searches like moving companies in my area, moving companies near me, moving companies in Austin, and not take the risk of getting in front of someone who's looking for a blanket, a moving company blanket, and who's so high up in the funnel. A lot of it is based on gut feel. Chris, I know you're going to tell me the same thing. So my question for you is, how do you develop that gut feel?
Yeah.
How does someone become good at AdWords if a lot of it is gut feels?
Yeah. And this is actually, I have good news because, Brian, this is a really good question because it's not necessarily, you're not, even though you don't realize it, but you're not necessarily asking about, how can someone who's, trying to learn AdWords and trying to make decisions in AdWords, how can we make the good decisions? What you're really asking about is, how can I use my knowledge about my company, my industry, my product, my service, my company, to make decisions in AdWords? right? It's not necessarily about AdWords. It's about if it's about what you're seeing in AdWords and whether you should make pause certain keywords, block certain keywords, increase certain keywords. That knowledge is actually more
So
about the consumer.
you're saying gut feel. A better way to say it is use your experience and knowledge of your industry and your business and your customers.
Right.
And don't be afraid to use that.
Right. This isn't, there, I feel that there's one side of AdWords is knowing the tool itself and knowing how to use the settings and the bids and the keywords and the ad groups. That's a whole nother thing. But there's another side, which is going to rely on your understanding of the English language and what people mean whenever they do certain searches, and what level of the funnel someone's in when they're doing a search for a particular product or service. So it's going to be really important that you understand that and know how that looks and be able to make decisions on that. The easiest way that I can say is, if I don't understand an industry or I don't really know what I should feel about this keyword or another search term or something like that, I'll do a search for it on Google and I look some of the, the top 10 searches and the paid ads. What do other advertisers feel about this? What do the organic search results feel about this? And that should really dictate, what's going to be important. If I see a lot of completely off-topic types of responses in the organic and in the paid ads, I'm probably going to stop that search completely because it seems like it's way off topic, or I'm going to at least refine it. So I think I use a lot of gut because it's something that I've, like Jason said, I've developed over time. But in reality, this is not something that you have to know AdWords to the professional level. You need to know your business and your industry at a professional level in order to make these decisions in AdWords.
And Chris, here's a final point, a way to cap it is, yes, of course, you got to look at statistical significance to make decisions, but a lot of it is your gut and experience. But a good way to kind of combine those two things, I think here, Chris, are initially, it's a whole lot of experience, a whole lot of gut. You're not going to target the word moving blanket because from your business as a moving company owner or working for a mover that people who are searching for that are not a good customer. So early on, when you see those search terms come up, you're going to kill them off. You're going to add negative keywords and you're not going to worry about this statistical significance. But once you use your experience to refine your account, Chris, and you're on month 6, year number 2, and you're breaking down cost per conversion on different keywords, and both keywords are good, they're good at a gut level, that's when you kind of look at the stats hardcore, look at the cost per conversions on 2 keywords and go, hey, they're both great keywords. I want to be on both of them. But at this point, the data is telling me keyword A is just too costly compared to keyword B. I'm going to lower bids on keyword A.
Yeah.
So it's a mix, and a lot of it is experience, and kind of use cost per conversion and conversion as your guiding stars in terms of statistical significance. And the other stuff, Chris, click-through rate, positions, cost per click, we talked about it on the episode today. It matters, but don't get caught up in that stuff. Use your experience, look at cost per conversion, look at conversion. So guys, that is this episode of the PPC Questions and Answers show. Send us your questions at paidsearchpodcast.com on the contact page, and do tell us where you're from. But you know what, Chris? We got to give them a helping hand. We're going to edit that for them. We're going to say, where are you from? It's as simple as that.
Yeah. You don't tell us where you're from, we're going to make it up. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys next time.